Global stability often hinges on regional tipping points. Good morning and welcome to this morning's Stylo News Intelligence Update Explainer. It's June 29, 2026. I'm your host, and today we're bringing you a focused, executive briefing on the critical events that have shaped South America over the past 2 weeks. We'll be moving calmly and factually through the intelligence, making sure you have a clear, unbiased understanding of these developing situations and ultimately why they matter to the global community.
Now, before we dive into the analysis, we want to note that this update is sponsored by ProWave AI. They're the developers behind Stylo Intel, which is the AI-powered open-source intelligence program driving all of our data gathering today. They're also the creators of Stylo News, the commercial platform you can access right now on the web and through their mobile apps.
Here is what's on today's agenda. First, we'll cover Venezuela's earthquake crisis. Second, Colombia's narco network war. Third, we'll look at leadership perspectives and public sentiment. And finally, we'll wrap up with our regional outlook and call to action.
Let's move right into Section 1, Venezuela's earthquake crisis and the resulting humanitarian emergency in the Andean corridor.
The primary impact zones are localized right near the capital, Caracas. On June 24th, this region experienced a massive seismic disruption. And it's important to understand that this natural disaster is compounding existing infrastructural challenges in a country that's already navigating a very complex period, especially following a sudden change in national administration earlier this year.
What we're looking at here was a doublet event. That means two immensely powerful earthquakes, registering magnitudes of 7.5 and 7.2, struck the central northern region, a mere 40 seconds apart from one another.
As you might expect, the human toll is both substantial and tragic. Current reporting indicates over 235 confirmed fatalities. On top of that, local authorities have documented over 1,500 injuries, and nearly 3,000 families have been displaced because of widespread structural collapse across the affected urban centers.
In response, a national state of emergency has been officially declared by Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez. Our intelligence confirms that 346 buildings, and that includes critical hospitals and commercial centers, have sustained severe damage. The domestic response is heavily constrained by severe resource shortages right now, which really exposes the deep infrastructural fragility in the region. Because of this, international rescue teams and humanitarian aid have been rapidly deployed to assist the local efforts. It's an operation that is absolutely vital to preventing broader regional instability.
Turning now to Section 2, Colombia's narco network war and the shifting security dynamics in that country.
Taking a look at Colombia, the critical zone we're observing is the Nariño department, down in the southwest, situated directly along the Ecuadorian border. This specific area remains a high-value trafficking hub, and it's a primary target for state security forces who are actively working to dismantle supply chains.
To detail the latest actions on the ground, on June 25th, the Colombian Army successfully destroyed a major coca processing laboratory in Nariño. They seized significant quantities of precursor materials and coca leaf stock. At the same time, broader military operations are unfolding across both the Caribbean and Pacific maritime corridors. These operations are strategically targeting established criminal organizations, most notably the Gulf clan networks. What this tells us is that cartel infrastructure remains highly active regardless of any ongoing political transitions, and this relentless cartel activity threatens to destabilize not just local municipalities, but entire international trade routes.
Moving to Section 3, Leadership Perspectives and Sentiment, where we'll synthesize these regional responses.
We are seeing a stark political shift occurring in Colombia right now. The outgoing administration of Gustavo Petro prioritized social reforms and peace negotiations with armed groups. Conversely, President-elect Abelardo de la Espriella is establishing a very hardline mandate. His stated policy approach involves direct, forceful military action against the cartels, up to and including the authorization of bombings against infrastructure. So, this represents a fundamental divergence in state security strategy, and it's something we are monitoring very closely.
Now, regarding the crisis in Venezuela, the international responses vary wildly in both scale and method. For instance, El Salvador's President Bukele swiftly deployed 300 rescuers and 50 tons of medical supplies. In contrast, the United States mobilized heavy strategic assets, deploying naval and air support to assist in the disaster relief. This juxtaposition really highlights the differing capacities and the unique geopolitical positioning of the responding nations.
Looking at open-source sentiment analysis from the X platform over the past 2 weeks, a few clear trends emerge. For Venezuela, the prevailing sentiment is empathy, with very low political polarization. The public is highly unified in its support for humanitarian aid. In Colombia, however, there's measurable public approval for the recent military seizures, reflecting a collective hope for stability. Taking a broad regional view, we're seeing deep frustration with systemic narco-corruption, alongside a growing public desire for pragmatic, strict law enforcement over continued negotiations.
And finally, Section 4, our outlook and call to action as we look at forward projections.
Looking at our near-term strategic forecast, through late June, we're closely monitoring the direct impacts of the Colombian election runoff on security policy. Concurrently, we are tracking the ongoing integration of international aid in Venezuela and exactly how it navigates the complex landscape on the ground there. Looking ahead toward the third quarter of 2026, intelligence suggests potential U.S. sanctions targeting illegal mining networks. And of course, we maintain a steady watch on regional security measures surrounding the upcoming FIFA World Cup matches being hosted in the hemisphere.
To fully grasp the implications of these overlapping events, I highly encourage you to listen to today's complete audio program, the full June 29 Stylo News Intelligence Update Morning Podcast, which is titled Venezuela's Double Earthquake and Colombia's War on Narco Networks, explores all this intelligence in much greater depth. It's available right now on your preferred audio channel, or you can simply follow the link provided in this post.
Thank you for joining us for this Executive Explainer. For continuous global situational awareness and AI-powered news on demand, be sure to subscribe at www.stylonews.com. As natural disasters and aggressive military crackdowns simultaneously reshape South America, we have to ask ourselves, are we witnessing a temporary period of volatility, or is this the beginning of a fundamentally new geopolitical era for the continent? Good day, and stay informed.